Very so nice.
Good morning, one and all. I'm Dr. Ganapati Raju, working as a professor in GRIT. Today's my topic is on data analytics from a machine learning perspective. My topic consists of three parts. The first one is I will start my discussion with the importance of data analytics. Second, I will move on to machine learning and what are the different steps in machine learning. And lastly, I will move on to real-time case studies in research perspective. I will discuss about pre-processing techniques in machine learning and supervised machine learning models. If you look at this slide, data is the new oil. This quotation has been given by Clive Humby. Once upon a time, oil companies rule the globe. We already know that it is 20th century, oil was the most valuable thing. In 21st century, the data is ruling the world. Data itself is ruling the world. As per Clive, data is a new oil. This quotation will be given by our Dr. Jayan Murthy Garu in every meeting. Once we have the data in our hand, we can rule the world. Now, I will show you how the approaches will be used to rule the world. These slides will give you two information messages. First one is in data extraction from various resources like oil rigs, how they will extract the oils from the seas, maybe with Reliance or some other things like that. We have to extract the information from various resources like raw survey data, previous employees data, or from log files, or from customers' information, or emails, or contracts, or billings, whatnot. We have n number of resources. From that, we have to extract the data. My entire FDP next 1 hour will teach how the data will be extracted and how it has to be put onto the analytics path. And it is a funny joke which is moving around the world. The person who is a data scientist, the most sexiest job in 21st century is data science. Data is an essential resource that powers the information economy nowadays, like how oil has fueled industrial economy in 20th century. Once upon a time, the natural resources are the wealthiest one. Now, knowledge economy is the best one. Now, if you look at the previous campus placements, if you look at TCS, mostly every student has to get around 3.6 lakhs package 3 years back. Now, the student, those who are having knowledge, they are getting the 7.5 lakhs and 10 lakhs packages. It is just because of the knowledge. Information can be extracted from the data, like how energy can be extracted from oil. Data flows like oil. For that, we have to drill down like that. How we have to extract the data from the oil. We are getting new use cases with the data. They are diagnosis of diseases, and direction of traffic patterns, that is Google Maps. The word data, which is came from Latin, it is a plural word called as datum. The power of most useful resource of 21st century is data. Who are generating the data? Machines, robots, sensors, and ourselves are producing the data. All our roads leads to data. Data is useful. We have to refine it. Data has to be transformed to information. Information has to be transformed to knowledge. It has to be transformed to decision making by high level management. At the end, it has to show some results in cycles. Analytics is intellectually built on sequence of instructions. We are going to build some algorithms with the sequence of instructions. Those algorithms will build up some applications. Now we have to transit from descriptive analytics to predictive analytics, and so from predictive analytics to prescriptive analytics. Now with that, I'm moving slowly to practical part. Like a coin has two sides, like data has also two sides. If there is any positive, we also have a negative. Like Data has two evils. One is data spillage and data militancy. Data spillage means the information ecosystem pollution. Some people polluted the ecosystem, like write data in the wrong place. Sometimes wrong data in the right place. Just now we have seen the COVID situations from March, April, May. Most of the unnecessary messages spreading over all over social media. This can be an example for data spillage. That means always we should have right data in right people. If not, we will have some sort of situations. We have come across in COVID break. So many messages passed over Facebook and WhatsApp groups. It creates junk over the people's minds. Another evil is data militancy. That means we have seen that unwanted credit card hacks or credit card clonings. These two parts of data militancy. And third one, data is the most important business asset. This is my last slide. I'll discuss about theory about data. Later, I'll go for practical parts. Most of the top 5 companies like Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Google's mother company called Alphabet. They have commoditized data and taken over their respective sectors by basically selling or by accessing. Most of the Amazon revenues comes around from Amazon. 35% of revenue is generated by recommendation systems. The huge amount of data is controlled by top 5 mega companies. They are bigger than most of the companies in the world. Now, we will slowly shift our focus from data to analytics part. Before going to analytics part, I wanted to classify data two types. One is quantitative type, another one is qualitative type. Quantitative, once again, classified as discrete and continuous. The meaning of discrete is it is in the form of countable, some n. It can be the number of defects in a program, number of customer complaints. They will be represented with the help of some count. They will be called as discrete. Another kind of quantitative measure is continuous. Here, the data we cannot measure in the simple x term. Always the data will be varies from -x to +x. The best examples of temperature and the stock market data. Every second, it is going to change the values. Another type of data is qualitative data. We will also call it as categorized data. Best examples are male, female. Another one is yes, no. That means from now onwards, in each and every slide, we are going to discuss about discrete, continuous, and categorical data terms. Now, let us look at this slide, and you can send your messages. I wanted to just look at this slide, and you can think what can be the what analytics we can form with this. Can anyone? You can chart with these messages.
Sir, can you please repeat your question?
Yeah, I have given a categorical data consisting of some 50 countries. From this, can anyone do some analytics, can think over analytics? How to look at the messages which are sent by the students, the faculties? Hello? If not, I will move ahead. From this table, categorical table, we can move forward. Let us think that it has some totally 50 countries are there. It has some 50 countries are there. Each and every countries we are having calculating the frequencies. Canada appear for 2 times and China appear for 12 times and so on. Totally US appear for 10 times. Now we can also take the percentages how they appeared in 100%. Now this is one kind of analytics we can come from this table. Okay. Another kind of analysis we can make is students for machine learning course. Now some countries are related belongs to some American, and some countries are Asia, and some countries are related to Europe continent. Now, those frequencies we can summarize in the form of continents. Now, 15 for North America and 29 for Asia and 6 for Europe. From this table, we can get an histogram that this is the interpretation. Histogram, Europe has 6 and North America has 15 and Asia has around 29. Actually speaking, from this data, from this categorical data, slowly we are thinking and we are moving into analytical part by calculating the frequencies of each and every company and showing them in the form of reports or in the form of a pictorial representations like histograms, bar charts, and so on. Now, from this, the high-level management can take a decision. Now, what country or what continent they can focus on. Now, let me go to another example. It has around numerical data. It has around 50 numerical attributes. Can anyone think what kind of analytics we can formulate from this table? Let me check the messages which are sent by how to check, Gopal Krishna, how to check the messages, charts. If not,
Sir, at the top of the screen, you will find a chart, security, participants, polls, chart.
Yes, I have participants, I have polls, I have security, but I have not seen the charts.
No, you will have a chat symbol. You press on it, the chat symbol.
No, I am not getting charts, sir.
It's okay, sir. I will read out the what do you say, the information from the chat box. Most of the people told age group, including me. Yeah. Some of them told male and female. Some of them told mortality rate, age profiles.
Yes. We have not given a male or female. We cannot formulate any kind of male or female. We can say that it is age groups. From this table, we can easily inference that it is a binning. We have taken each and every bin consisting of 20. 0 to 20, I have taken it as one group. 20 to 39, I have taken it as another group. And like this, if I observe it, the histogram around the age groups 20 to 39 are having high frequencies. From this, we can, from each like this, from each and any data, we can go for some sort of inferences. By using those inferences or by finding the relationships or by finding the patterns, the high-level management can take decisions. This is the basic essence of analytics. Now, shall we move on to the data collection part? Data collection from diverse resources. Most of the data we are going to collect from internet. The basics of internet is connecting everything to everyone. Billions of people are connected to billions of devices. Like examples, online shoppings like Amazon, Walmart, eBay, like file sharing systems like Dropbox or Google Drive. Apart from the internet, social media like Facebook, Google+, Twitter, YouTube, or relational databases, non-relational databases, or text files, CSV files, spreadsheets, or anything which will come out from sensors, online platforms. Through all these devices, we are storing everything, but we are not deleting anything. But everyone is having multiple copies of the things. There, one of my research area is that like authorship attribution. But if you have hundreds of copies of an image or text, no one is the father of that text or image. My research has done that, identified that it identifies the unknown documents, who is the author of the document or who is the inventor of the documents. Now we'll leave it and we'll leave on to the basic analytics parts. Initially, we'll have a raw data. From the raw data, we are going to extract the knowledge. From the knowledge, we are going to extract the intelligence. From the intelligence, we are going to get the insights. We'll see all these things in my lecture sessions. Analytics is the one which transformation of data into insights. This is the basic essence of my entire 1.5 hour lecture. It involves understanding past and current data performance. And I'm going to, from the past and current data, I'm going to predict future performance. That means prediction is one such kind of thing I'm going to use in analytics. Second one is I'm understanding the relationships among the data. Just now we identified some relationships in the form of categorical data and in the form of numerical data, and we identified some patterns and translated them for meaningful and useful for relevant to business insights and intelligent strategies by the management. Third kind of thing, laying foundation for data driven decision making process for an organization or for an institute or for an enterprise. Now, the basic vocabulary that everyone must know in my lecture is, I'm going to use those terminologies in the coming sessions. Now, like how we are going to store the data in the form of tables that we call it as relations. Now, in my analytics machine learning, we are going to call them as features. In databases, you will call them as attributes. In my machine learning, I'll call them as features. Let us consider this rectangle area. It consisting of some number of features, like how you have employee number, employee name, like attributes in the table. Like in that, my data tables consisting of features. Okay, every feature must have a target feature. That is nothing but predicted category value. Now I will represent with a small y. Now I will predict this column based on some non-target features. Now this is all X, capital X is also called as inputs. These are the properties of the data. By using these properties, I'm going to predict the Y feature. So X is input and Y is output. Okay. Now we are going to call them with technical terminologies. Target can also be called as response, output variables, dependent variables. All input variables will be called as predictor variables and independent variables. Every row in the database is called as tuple. Now every row in my database data analytics, I will call them as observations, or I will call them as records or instances. Now this target table has some class labels. For example, if you have loan prediction, yes or no, here target is my loan prediction and the class labels are yes, loan can be given by the bank manager, or approved or not approved. They will be called as class labels. If you know these terminologies, slowly I'll move on to the technical terminologies. Let us look at the data dictionary of loan prediction. Now you have to identify what are categorical data and what are numerical data from this. I have around 13 features in my loan prediction data set. It has loan ID is one feature, gender, married, dependents, education, self-employed, applicant income, co-applicant income, and all these are my features. And loan status is my target variable. Okay. Now, based on all these features, I wanted to predict loan status. It has to be approved or not approved. Yes means approved. No means not approved. This I will call it as class label. What is a target variable? Loan status is my target variable. And what are the class labels? Yes or no are my class labels. And what are categorical data? Here, gender is my categorical data. It is going to represent as male or female. And married, yes or no, is another categorical data. And applicant education, graduation, undergraduation, it is also categorical data. Self-employed, yes or no, it is a categorical data. Property area, if we want to get a loan, we must use our assets. It can be urban, semi-urban, rural. These are categorical data. Apart from that, number of dependents, applicant income, co-applicant income, loan amount in thousands, and term in months. They are called as discrete or continuous variables. Now, slowly I'll moving. This is my basics about to understand about what is analytics. Now, my second part is machine learning, introduction to machine learning. Now, how many of you have seen Robo movie? I think most of you have seen Robo movie where the Rajnikant has prepared a robot, okay? Like how can we define a machine learning which allows computers to learn? The first step of the definition of machine learning is we are allowing the computers to learn first. Once the computers learn the things, then they will infer the data. Whatever the data we will give, the data will be inferred by the machines. In the movie also, initially a robo learned the things from the Rajnikant. Later, that fell in love with the heroine. Okay, it is the basic definition from my perspective. It is a two-part definition. Machine learning allows computers to learn. Once the machines are well equipped with the inferences and whatever the unknown values you will give, it is going to predict it. Basically, machine learning can be divided into three parts: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. Here, I'm not taking the reinforcement learning. It is a bigger topic. What is the basic difference between supervised and unsupervised? Supervised learning means when you know the outcome, how Arjuna learned the things from Dronacharya. It is nothing best example for supervised learning. We know the target variable. If you know the target variable, then it will comes under supervised learning. Unsupervised learning means we have another person. Maybe he's Gopalakrishna. Will you give his name? Another person learns from Dronacharya without direct. Yakalavya, yes. Yakalavya also learned the things from Dronacharya, but it is indirect. That I will call it as unsupervised learning. Okay. Here you look at this two examples. Supervised learning means this is ducks, this rabbits and hares. These are my features. Now, duck I am representing with a target variable duck. Okay. Now, every feature I am giving a target feature also, that I will call it as supervised learning. After the machine learned the things, once the machine is ready, then what I will give is one unknown tuple I will give, like a duck I have given. My machine learning has to predict that is it a duck or is it a rabbit or is it a hare. Okay. In the same way, unsupervised learning means we don't have the target variables. Look at this, the difference between the supervised and unsupervised. Here, we don't have the target variables. Now here we are going to, in this case, we are going to find out the distance between one object to another object. It can be done with cosine similarity or Manhattan or Jacquard or any kind of distance measure we are going to apply, and we are going to find out the distance between two objects. Always the distance will be given in between 0 and 1. If the distance of two objects are 0, that they will be kept in a same group. If the distance between the objects are nearly reaching 1, that means they are not in the group. So if you look at this box, all ducks in the same group. Rabbit is another group and hare is another group. These are the small difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. Once again, supervised learning is divided into regression, user for prediction, and classification. Regression, here we will take the past data and we are going to predict future data. This is known as regression. When can we use regression? When the target variable is a continuous or numerical variables, I have to apply regression analysis. Basically, in layman terminology, regression is nothing but predicting future from the past. The best examples are home prices or house price prediction. If I know top 10 to 20 houses, now I can predict 21st house. Second one is salary prediction. Since 20 years I'm working in GRIT. If I put all my 20 years salary, I can predict my 21st year salary. Okay, this best example for regression. Next one is classification. Classification best example, when can we apply? When the output is a target categorical variable, then we have to apply a classification. The best example is object classification for images. Let us discuss workflow in supervised learning. Here we are going to take the raw data data along with features, along with labels. The initial step is I have to extract the features by using some feature extraction algorithms. Maybe in day one, Dr. Karuna has asked Mohan, what are the feature extraction algorithms? Now, detail I will express about feature extraction algorithms. Once after extraction of the features from the data sets, we will keep it aside. Now, we are going to train our model, like how the Rajinikanth has trained the machine. Now, these labels are given for the features. We are going to prepare a model. This model will be evaluated for n number of times. Once my model is ready, I'm going to check with unknown data sets. I will collect a new data and I will extract features from the new data set also. I'm going to apply this model on the new data set. Now, my model has to predict the class label for unknown data set. I try to utilize this diagram in my next discussions. These are the supervised and unsupervised algorithms. It is not our case. Now directly I'll go to my second part. Steps in machine learning. As a researcher, as a faculty, if we want to do, or if you want to publish a paper, or if you want to do any PhD, you have to follow these steps. The first one is problem identification. For that, we have to study n number of research articles, around 10 to 15 or 20 research articles we have to study. Once we have clear-cut idea about where we have to start the problem, then we have to identify where we have to collect the data. Data collection is the next step for that problem identification. Most of the cases, you may not find the data. At that time, you have to generate your own data. In my case, I didn't get any data for my research work. I have spent around 1.5 years for the data collection itself. Now, in my next slide, I will show how to generate my own data set. Second step is data pre-processing. Whatever the data we are collecting from various resources, like from internet or from other resources, and they may be raw. We cannot use the raw data directly for model building. We have to pre-process the data. Okay. Just look at the right side. There are several pre-processing steps. The first one is data imputation. Let me discuss all these steps one by one. Data integration. Imputation means sometimes if you have a data is having blank data elements. Sometimes if a data will be with zeros. Next, data integration. That means most of the cases you may have to collect the data from various source files. One from CSV file, another from text data, another from various. We have to integrate. Third step is data encoding. Most of the machine learning algorithms doesn't understand categorical data. So you have to convert the categorical data into numerical data using data encoding formats. Let me discuss encoding formats. Fourth one is outlier detection. Most of the data which are having some outliers, we have to identify the outliers and we have to remove them from the data sets. Next one is data transformation. Now, whatever the data which you are collecting, the data may not be in between 0 to 100 or may not be in between 0 to 1. We have to get the data into one normalized format, either 0 to 1 or -1 to 1 or 0 to 100. This process is known as data transformation, data normalization, data scaling. Next one is dimensionality reduction. Maybe most of the examples, they may have some 100 features, 200 features, 300 features, 1000 features. But the 1000 features may not participate in the model building. We have to reduce the dimensionality. For example, if you have dimensionality having sparse matrices, that may have, you have to reduce the size of the features. Now, feature engineering. Feature engineering is a subpart of dimensional reduction. We will discuss each and everything practically. Okay. Once after completion of the pre-processing, then we have to go for exploration of the data. It is also called as exploration of data analysis. It can be done in two ways: univariate analysis and multivariate analysis. Next one is feature selection. we are going to select the best features for the model. Then we are going to build several classification models. Then once we completed the results, then we have to evaluate whatever the results we are getting. They may be correct or they may not be correct. How to check whether the model results correct or not? For that, we are going to use some model evaluation techniques, like regression has some evaluation mechanisms, classification has some evaluation mechanisms. Once after the evaluation mechanisms are passed, then we have to analyze the results. Now, I'm going to discuss each and every step with a practical relevance. If your data is available in the internet, like in the form of CSV or in the form of a text or in the form of anything, you can use it directly. If you did not get the data, you have to generate the data as per your convenient. Now I will try to show you a small example using Python, machine learning, how to generate your own data sets. For that, now I wanted to generate an employee data of 100 records with employee IDs from 1 to 100, and the ages of the employees started from 25 to 62, and the basic pays of the employees 15,600 to 67,100, and the number of clients 1 to 1000, number of years experience is 0 to 100, and its performance of an employee is good or bad. Good means 1, bad means 0. Now I have written a small Python code. Here NumPy is for numerical Python, and Pandas is a library in machine learning used for data analysis part. Employee, now just look, I have a small arrange function. NumPy has some numerical functions. That numerical functions, I can use it for the generation of the data set. np.arrange, that means it will generate the numbers from 1 to 100. 101 will be excluded. And I wanted to create ages from 25 to 62. Now, NumPy has a random function. I wanted to generate integers from 25 to 62. That means I wanted to generate 100 numbers. Size equal to 100 means it is going to generate 100 numbers in between 25 to 62. Basic pays 15,600 to say 67,100. Number of clients 1 to 1000. Years of service 0 to 40. Now, if you look at this, here I have created a data dictionary. Now this dictionary created a table like this. Now it has generated the data like this. Now it creates hundreds, but for time being, I have shown you first 5 records. Like look at here. I told you that it will generate the employees from 1 to 100 and the ages in between 25 to 62, basic base from 15,600 to 67,100, number of clients from 1 to 1000, years of experience from 0 to 40, and performance score is from 1 and 0. Like this, we can generate your own data sets and you can check your algorithms. Second important step is data imputation. Most of the real world data sets that may contain some missing values for various regions. They're often encoded as blanks. They will be represented as NaNs, means not a number. Whenever any data set is represented with the blanks or not a numbers, we have to fill with some values, either with 0 or with some values. Data analytics follows some rules. Rule 1 is, if that column consisting of discrete or continuous data, we have to use statistical methods like mean, median, or standard deviation. We have to calculate those standard deviations, we have to apply it. I will show each and every concept practically after the theory discussion for 15 minutes. Whereas if I have the categorical data, I have to use the statistical method called as mode. I have given a small code snippet. Look at here. E of age dot mean. Here, what I am doing is I have, if my for example, if 53 is missing here, for example, either 53 is missing or 61 is missing. What I will do is I will try to calculate the mean of this column and I will fill it here. Okay, just look at here. What I'm doing is E of age. E of age is nothing but that column. I'm calculating the mean, and in place means that data will be stored for future purpose. And whatever the data I'm calculating the mean, I'm filling at that column. Like this, I can fill basic pay, number of clients, number of years experience. If my data consisting of categorical data, I have to use mode. In some cases, I can also go for median. I can also go for standard deviation. I cannot use variance for filling the data. That means once if you use the data imputation, now wherever the blanks or NaNs on your data sets, they will be filled with some data. If you are not satisfied with mean, mode, variance, you can fill with the zeros. It depends upon the application point of view. The second pre-processing technique is data encoding. Most of the machine learning libraries represent the data in numerical values rather than categorical values. If you look at this data, how to convert the categorical data into numerical? There are three methods. First one is manual encoding using Pandas data analysis library. Second one is label encoder. Yes, there is one more machine learning library in Python that is called a scalar. It has a class called label encoder, either by using label encoder or by using one-hot encoding. That means if you look at this here, work class is my feature. It consists of the categorical values like private, state government, central government, and others. I am converting private with 1, state government with 2, central government with 3, and others as 4. Once if I run this code, now my data, my categorical data work class will be converted to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the known as data encoding. Most of the libraries will not consider categorical data for processing. We have to convert the categorical data into numerical data. This is known as method 1. Method 2 is by using sklearn package. There is a package called sklearn. In that we have a class called label encoder. Now we have to use that object of the class le.fit underscore transformation. Now my data, whatever I have in work class, private, public, are converted into numerical attributes. This code related to label encoder, which converts the data into this formats. Earlier mechanism we used manually. Here private I have given manually as 1, state government I have given manually as 2, but here the classes by default has taken. How the categorical data are converted to numerical data. This is method 2. Method 3 is known as one-hot encoding. For example, if I have my categorical data like this, I can have, there is another mechanism called as, it has one-hot encoding by using a function known as get underscore dummies. Here I will give the feature name. Now all my Russia, Germany, Australia, Korea, and Germany, they are converted into new features. That means by using one-hot encoding, the disadvantage is it is going to create n number of new columns. Creating n number of new columns, it may not be good for machine learning applications. So depending upon the data set, depending upon the research work, we have to choose either label encoder or one-hot encoder, depending upon the applications. This is known as data encoding. Next process is outlier detection. Most outliers are nothing but noise. Whatever the data we are downloading from the internet, they will be filled with the noise. Now, if you have noise in your data, we cannot get accurate results. So we have to identify the noise and we have to remove it by using outlier techniques. For that, we can use box plots. Outliers are greatest and least values. They are very different from the other patterns. For example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 5000. Basically, by looking at these numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 5000 are 5 lakhs. 5 lakhs is odd man outs. Now we have to identify the odd man out and we have to remove it. For that, we have to use box plot. This is the box plot. For every value, we will have a minimum value and a maximum value. Box plot will come up with 5 features: minimum entry, minimum value for the feature, and a maximum value. When our student gets results, he will be scaled in between 0 to 10. 10 means excellent, 9 means very good. 8 means good. 7 means average. Like that, every feature has some minimum values and maximum values. If any values above the range, below the range, they will be identified as outliers. Here, apart from minimum and maximum entries, we also have three things. Q1 is first quartile data. Q2 is second quartile data. Q3 is third quartile data. It is nothing but percentage of 75. Here, if your data above the maximum or below the minimum, they will be considered as outliers. Median is having 50% of the quartile of the data. I will show you how to use box plots to identify outliers in the data set. First, let me cover theory parts for 5 minutes. Next one is normal distribution. How to check whatever the data we have collected from the internet or from various resources, whether they are correct or not. By using normal distribution, it is also called as a bell curve, also called as distribution curves. If you apply normal distribution for the data, you can easily say that whether data is good or bad. Now, if your data is good, 68% of your total data lies in between -1 sigma to +1 sigma. And 95% of your data must lies between -2 sigma to +2 sigma. And 99.7% of the data lies between -3 sigma to +3 sigma. I will tell you, I will explain how to check it. Now, other than -3 sigma or +3 sigma, if you have any data elements, we have to consider them as outliers. For that, we have n number of mechanisms. First mechanism is Z-score mechanism. First, we have to identify the Z-score for the data, or we can also apply min-max normalizer, where x minus minimum of x by maximum of x minus minimum of x. Let me discuss with an example. If I have the data in this format, here the data is ranging from 20 to 40. I think it is around 50s also. Now, I will apply Z-score for this. The formula for Z-score is Z equal to x minus mu by sigma. Here, 26, 33, I'll call them as x, and mu is 38.8 and sigma is 11.4. Now calculate Z-score for 26. Now 26x minus xi, here I stands for 0. 26 minus mu 38.8 divided by sigma value is 11.4. The value will get it out -1.12. Look at here in this slide, -1 it is in between -1. If you take it next value 33, we have Z-score as -0.5. 65 -2, that means all these values are lies in between -1 sigma, -2 sigma, -3 sigma, +3 sigma. That means we have to convert the values from any values, any ranges, but between 0 to 1 or -1 to 1 or 1 to 10. This is known as transformation, also called as normalization. In some books, it is also called as rescaling of the data. It is very, very important. It directly impacts the accuracy of the machine learning models. Next thing is dimensionality reduction. Dr. Karuna in the last class, first class, asked that the number of features, look at this diagram. If the number of features are increasing, look at the x-axis consists of dimensionality, the number of features. If the number of features are increasing, in the y-axis we have taken it as the classified performance. If we have very few features, the performance is very high. Still, you are increasing the number of features, the performance will be degraded. This is the universal formula. I think I have answered your question. That means what for the dimensional reduction? Our data set may consisting of 1,000 features, 2,000 features, 5,000 features. May not, all 1,000 features may not participate in the model building. So we have to identify the relevant features by using dimensional addition. As the number of features increases, the model becomes more complex. So the more chances of overfitting. For dimensionality reduction, we have some mechanisms like PCA, principal component analysis, or LDA, linear discrimination analysis, or SVD, singular value decomposition, either by using PCA or by using LDA or by using SVD. We have to reduce the number of dimensions. We will try to apply this dimensional reduction in the next case study. I will discuss more about dimensional reduction in the next slides. Second one is feature selection and feature engineering. Actually speaking, most of the faculties are treating they are same. No, they are different. Feature selection is the process of identifying and selecting relevant features for the sample. Feature selection is nothing but identifying the relevant features for the model, whereas feature engineering is manually generating new features from existing features. By applying some transformation or performing some operations, I will try to discuss the comparison between feature selection and engineering in my case study. Feature selection means selection of relevant features for the model. It is a two-step process: forward feature selection and backward feature selection. In forward feature selection, we will select from one feature with other features, and we will try to build the model until we will get the best results. We will try to do some permutations and combinations about these. First, here we have combined my feature 3 with feature 1. Then I combine with feature 5. I'll create a model. I'll check whether I'll get correct model correct results or not. If not satisfied, I'll come back and I'll take another feature with another features. In forward selection, always by adding one item at a time. Initially, we will start with feature 1. Then in the next iteration, I will add one more feature. In the n number of iterations, in each and every iteration, I wanted to add a new features until I will get the best results. Whereas in backward feature selection, we will start with all the features. In each and every iteration, we are going to reduce one attribute at a time until we'll get the results, best results. We will do this with a real-time example. Feature selection consisting of two steps: search for the best features. I'll show around 4 to 5 different feature selection mechanisms practically. Okay. The first step is, out of n number of features, we have to identify the best features. Step 2 is pick the subset from that and use them for the model. Second one is we should understand the relationship between one or more features. It can be done by using covariance, correlation, chi-square, regression, and so many kind of mechanisms. Here, both covariance and correlation will tell you the relationship about two variables. The result will be between -1 to 1. -1 means weak relation, +1 means positive relation, 0 means the two variables doesn't have any relation. Weak relation means if one variable is, if for example, if you take A and B, the covariance or correlation are -1. That means if one variable increases, other variable decreases. If the covariance or correlation, the result is 0. That means both A and B are neutral. They don't have any relationship between them. If the relationship between them is positive, that means if it is nearly to 1, that means if A increases, B also increases. In that case, we have to identify the relevant features and by removing irrelevant features. What was the difference between covariance and correlation? Covariance and correlation will tell you the strength of the two-way relationship, and correlation will tell you at what degree they are correlated. Is it 0.2? Is it 0.4? Is it minus 0.8? And so on. It can be done with a formula, Pearson correlation formula. Now, we'll ask for questionnaire for 2 to 3 minutes, then I'll shift my focus to case studies. Mr. Gopal Krishnan Garu,
Yes, sir.
ask the people to raise some questions, sir. Then I'll answer them. I'll go to real-time application.
If anybody interested to ask certain questions to the speaker, can raise their hand from the chat box. Sir, we have one question from Dr. Ramesh in the chat box. How to identify best feature?
Yes, sir. This is my next case study. I will discuss the practical. I'll show you. In 3 to 4 different ways, I'll show you.
Sir, as of now, there is no hands raised.
Okay. Now, shall I go to case studies? How
Just
the
a minute, sir. Just a minute. Dr. Karuna has raised her hand. Dr. Karuna, madam.
Yes, yes.
Hello, sir.
Please, Karuna, madam, please.
Sir, I have a question here.
Yes, madam.
How future engineering is manually generating new features?
That
Means
I,
what, sir? Because
yes, sir,
lots of data is there.
yes, yes.
How comes manually generating new features?
Let me discuss the concept. Let me correlate with feature selection mechanism with, for example, I have feature 1 and feature 2. Sometimes if I want to generate a new feature 3, I have to combine feature 1 and feature 2 manually. Okay. Maybe for a loan prediction examples, so maybe applicant income, co-applicant income. If you combine both of them, then there is a high chance of getting loan approval. If I combine,
It means user choice based
Yes,
on
yes.
user's customized
Yes, yes.
way features.
it is my user choice. It is my
Hmm.
choice. Now, actually speaking, there are 2 features. Applicant income is one separate feature and co-applicant income is separate feature. If you separate them, there may not be a chance of getting loan approval. If you combine those 2 features as a applicant, as an income, if you combine both the income, you will get a huge income. Then there is a high chance of getting a loan.
Okay.
It
In
is a user
customized
tool.
way. Yeah. Features
Yes,
will be
it is my,
generated.
yes, yes. It is a user generation feature. Now, your question I will discuss practical in the case study 2.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Yes, let me go to case study 1.
Ganapati
Is it
sir, మీ
visible?
screen, no, మీ screen కనిపించట్లేదు. Can you share it again?
Yeah, just wait. I'm sharing the screen, sir. Just give me a minute. Could you please help me, Gopal Krishna? I'm unable.
Sir, your screen is not visible. Are you opening any application?
Yes, I'm opening. How to? I'm not getting the screen share.
Can I check now?
Yes, please. Yes, sir. Now it is available. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Yes, sir. Please. Now, whatever I have shown in the previous slides, let me show the pre-processing for 15 minutes. Then I'll go for real-time case study. Is it visible? Is it okay for everyone?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah, please. First, let me discuss about the pre-processing steps. Here I have 2 libraries. First, NumPy is for numerical Python, used for representing high-dimensional data sets in the form of arrays. Next one is Pandas is a library used for any kind of data analysis purpose. Now, I'm going to generate my own data. Anyway, I have discussed the logic. Just look at here. My program has generated 100 records for me, but I am showing only first 10 records to you. it has generated employee ID, age, basic pay, number of clients, years of service, and performance score. Why I have shown this data generation is for doing research work. Not every time it is not possible to rely on internets. Depending upon our requirements, we have to generate our own data sets. Like how I have generated for authorship attribution, I don't have any data in the internet at the time. I have taken my own data sets from newspaper articles or from textbooks. I have generated my own data. Like here, you people has to generate for this this example will help you to understand. Now I will now it is very easy. Once after getting my data generation, it is easy to store the data in the form of CSV files. Maybe I can store my data in the form of Excel sheets. Comma, CSV stands for comma separated values. How simple it is to store the data and how to read and write the data in the form of pandas. Now DF is an object of data analysis, data frame. Here I'm storing my data in the form of emp.csv. Separator is comma. Now, once after completion of reading, I'm reading the data once again to the data frame. Just look at here how I'm reading my data. Here, if I 100 records, it will show me 100 records. Whatever the number of records, let me run the program from initial. Just look at here how I got 100 records. Head is a function, it will show you, but example, if you don't pass any variable, it will show you first 5 records. It is, now I wanted to show you how the data will be imputation. Basically, I have taken in the same Excel file and manually I have imputed some blanks. Now, wherever I have imputed blank symbols, it is showing NaN. NaN means not a number. If you have not a number, your machine learning will not build a correct models. Now, using the pre-processing step, data imputation, I wanted to, wherever NaNs are there in my machine, I wanted to remove them. Look at here. Wherever I have the A's, I have calculated mean of that column. Here, I have calculated the mean of the column. Just look at here. E of A's, which identifies the specific column, and I have calculated mean. This data, whatever the mean I have, there is a function called as fill NA. Fill not a number. Wherever not a numbers are there, they will be filled with the mean of that column. Now, E1.A's here, in place equal to true means whatever changes we have done, they will become saved. Just look at here. After filling the columns, it is filled with 43.93. This process is known as data imputation. For example, if my data consisting of categorical data, I have to use, instead of mean, standard deviation or median, I have to go for mean. Here in this example, I don't have a categorical data. I cannot apply mode operation slowly. Now this is step number 1, how to impute missing values. That means your data set cannot be a blank, it cannot be NaN, and even though if there are zeros also can be filled with mean, mode, median. Now my second step is data encoding. These are my categorical data. Machine learning algorithms doesn't understand the categorical data. Workplace is my feature name and the class labels are private, state government, central government. Then look at here how I have converted private as 1, state government as 2, central government as 3. This process is known as encoding. This is my input data and this is my output data. Now my data set consisting of all categorical data. Now all machine learning libraries can understand the numerical attributes. This process is known as pandas. Now another way of encoding is using class encoder class from sklearn library. Here we have to create an object of the class. Label encoder is a class. For that, LE is an object of the label encoder. Now I have to call a function. That means I have to transform my data using LE object. Now look at here. Wherever I have the categorical data, those categorical data are converted to numerical data. This process is known as label encoding in machine learning. And method 3, another way of encoding is wherever I have the categorical data in the form of countries, Russia, Germany, Australia, by using one-hot encoding, by calling a simple function known as get_dummies, I can create any number of columns into numerical attributes. The biggest problem with the comparison between label encoding and one-hot encoding is label encoding doesn't create new columns, whereas one-hot encoding creates new attributes. This is another drawback for us. That means the more the number of features, the more difficulty to process it. Next important technique is normalization. Let me discuss with a practical example. I have taken a loan prediction data set. This is my loan prediction data set. These steps I will discuss it later. Now, before normalization, I have created a model. What was the accuracy? 61% accuracy I got. If you multiply this value with 100, you will get 61.4. Now, after applying the normalization, now I got, just look at here, I have applied, you can apply Z-score or min-max normalization. Here in slide, I have shown you the formula x minus minimum of x divided by max of x minus minimum of x. Here I applied min-max normalization on the data sets. Now I got the accuracy score as 0.75 multiplied by 100. That means before applying of the normalization on any particular data set, I got a 61.4. After applying of the normalization or transformation or rescaling, my accuracies are changed to 75. And that means 14% of the accuracy got increased. That means in pre-processing, the first step we have studied as imputation. Second step we have studied as encoding. Third, this is the transformation or normalization as rescaling. It is the third step. All these pre-processing steps directly proportional to the accuracy or performance of the model building. So we have to apply all these building. Next one is dimensionality reduction. Let me discuss the dimensional reduction with an example, real example. There is a data set called as there is a iris data set. Maybe we may use it regularly in our programming. It consists of 4 features: sepal length, sepal width, class labels consisting of features, sepal length, sepal width, petal width, and it has a target feature. Okay. Totally, the iris dataset consists of 5 features, and target is my target feature, and these 4: sepal length, sepal width, petal width, all features. Now, based on these features, I can predict the target feature. Now, what I wanted to do is just look at here. I have separated sepal length, sepal width, petal width from the data set. Now, LOC function, location function, by using LOC function, I have separated target variables. I call it as X. Features I have called it as X, and target variables I have separated as Y. Now, feature engineering or feature selection can be done only for the features, not for the target variables. Dr. Ramesh and Dr. Karuna, kindly remember that we cannot apply feature selections for target variables. It can be applied only for features. Now, what I'm going to do is, first let me run this. Here, I have taken the data set from the running. It may take 1 minute. Just look at here. Here I'm totally consisting of around 150 rows. These every row is called as a, now sepal length, sepal width, petal width are called as features, and the target is one feature. Now, how many class labels? The iris and setosa, Virginica and Veronica. There are 3 class labels the iris dataset consisting of, and totally it consisting of 150 rows and 5 columns. Out of 5 columns, 4 are independent features and fifth one is dependent feature. Now, what I'm doing is, just look at here. I wanted to print the X values. These are my feature values for these sepal length, sepal width. Every column consisting of one feature values. Now, this is X, and I'm going to print the values Y, Setosa. These are my class labels. I wanted to apply dimensional reduction. First, let me, before applying, I'm going to standardizing my data. Just look at here. My X values are changing to 5.1, changed to minus 9.0. Means here we applied standardized scalar. It transformed the data from -1 to +1. Whatever the input features are there, all the input features are transformed or normalized. Then I applied one dimensional reduction mechanism called as PCA, Principal Component Analysis. Out of 4, I have considered it as number of components as 3. That means I am reducing 4 features to 3 features by using PCA. Now, by applying the transformation of the X, now look at here. How my 4 features are transformed to 3 features. Just look at here. My input is consisting of 4 features. They are transformed to 3 features. Now, there may be a question in your minds. Sir, if we try to reduce 4 features to 2 features, does it change the accuracy of the model? I will try to discuss that with an example. Here, I reduced the 4 features, and here I have given the names. First name I have given it as principal component 1. Second name I have given it as principal component 2. Third name I have given it as principal component 3. Just look at here. Now I have attached a target variable for this. Just observe it carefully. My first column is principal component 1, second column is principal component 2, third column is principal. Now I am attaching target variable. Just look at here. After reducing 4 features to 3 features, yes, the 4th feature was hidden here. Okay, here 4th feature is here. Actually, it has 4 features. Now let us discuss. Look at here. Explained variance. If you add all these values, their explained variance is nearly to 0.99. Even though you reduced the value 4 features to 3 features, let us, if anyone calculate these values, 0.7 to 0.23, it is 0.95 and 0.03. It comes around 0.97. Now, if anyone asks about what is explained variance, now here I have given the small input for explained variance. Look at here. Look at this slide. Explained variance is used to measure the discrepancy between a model and actual data. Now, from this observation, we can easily say that even though Gopal Krishnan garu, is it the screen is visible for everyone? Hello?
Screen is visible, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now you can actually have reduced. Initially, I have 4 features. Now those 4 features I have reduced to 3 features. Look at here. What was the explained variance? Is it near to 97? That means even though you are reducing 4 features to 3 features or 3 features to 2 features, there may not be a. That means we are identifying the relevant features. By using those relevant features, we are going to build a model. Now, this is my first case study. I'm going to close this case, and if there are any examples, any questions, so from this case, questions will be entertained from the audience. Once the questions are clear, I'll go for real-time case study in supervised learning. If anyone have the questions, you can raise your hands. Gopal garu.
Hello, sir. Chappan, sir.
Sir, anyone has any questions in this case?
Sir, none of the participants raised their hands, sir. I think
Okay.
everything is clear for them.
Yeah, thank you. Now, let me discuss live case. Whatever till now we are discussing, we will discuss about.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you in between. It's 11,
Yes.
10 already. If you can
Okay.
close it in another 5 to 6 minutes, we will take certain questions and close the session.
Sure.
Please give 10 minutes to participants before 11:30 so as they can ask you questions, sir.
Yes. Now, otherwise, shall I close this session and shall we go for questionnaire? Now, I'll go for feature selection, sir.
Please complete feature selection. Then we'll take 2 to 3 questions and close.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, actually, I have taken a diabetes dataset consisting of 9 features, number of pregnancies. I'll go for feature selection. I'll close the session. Pregnancies, glucose, blood pressure, skin thickness, and my target variable is outcome. Okay. Now I will try to discuss more about feature selections. That means most of the faculties are asking the question on feature selection. Later I'll go to that. Yeah. Our sklearn has proposed, scikit-learn package has given beautiful libraries or functions like select k-best. Mr. Ramesh and Mrs. Karuna kindly observe it carefully. There are some functions, select k-best. Out of 9, you can select whatever the features you want by using either select k-best function or select k percentile or select generic univariant analysis. That means this sklearn library is giving 3 beautiful functions to select the features manually. It is in your hands, either by using select k-best. Here you have a small example. After my class, you can go to here sklearn library, you can watch this, or I will go for real-time example. Apart from select k-best, it also having select k percentile. Another library is there. Third one is generic univariant selection. There are 3 functions that are supported by sklearn. Now I'll use them in my programming. Here, totally I have 9 features in my data set. Just look at here. What I'm asking is select k-best. We are using chi-square mechanism. Chi-square and correlations, they are going to find out the relationship between 1 or more variables. Now, here I'm using chi-square mechanism. Chi-square mechanism finds out whether the relation between 2 or more variables are strong or weak. Okay, and I'm asking my machine to select 4 best features for my data set. Now look at here. They are giving the best features as there are 9 features. The first feature value 106, second feature value 1337, third feature 42, fourth feature 70, fifth feature is 2448, like this. Now, if you observe it carefully, I have given numbering what features are having high importance. That means what features are having high importance in classification or regression. Look at here. The feature insulin, it is having much important in all 9 features. Its value is 2175. Second value is glucose. Glucose also gives high impact on the outcome of the disease. And the third one is around 181. Age also gives you the diabetic. Next one is BMI, body mass index. Next one is number of pregnancies. This is one such kind of selecting best features. Now, second mechanism which I am going is RFE, which is known as reverse backward selection. This RFE mechanism uses reverse backward selection. Here, first which selects all the features and in n number of iterations, it is going to remove the unnecessary features. And it is giving the outcome as true, false, true, false. Here, I have asked my machine to select the best 3 features out of 9. Some features they are having representing the zeros. Look at here, the first feature with true, and 6th and 7th features they're representing each as true, true. That means these out of 9 features, these 3 features are the best features. They will give you the best accuracies. Look at here, BMI and diabetes pedigree function and the number of pregnancies. And in this backward selection, it has chosen the best 3 features as like this. And either by using extract tree classifier mechanism, it is showing that best features as, look at here, diabetes pedigree function, which is having 0.14, and BMI is having 0.15, and glucose, which is having high values. That means we have given the inputs and outputs, and extract tree classifier, which is giving high features, the features having high impact on the target variable. Now, like this, we have around 100 to 200 feature selection mechanisms are there. Now I have shown the 3 important feature selection mechanisms which we will use it regularly for our feature purpose, for our research purpose, which I'm using. Without from this, either you can use PCA, or you can use LDA, or you can use SVD for feature selection mechanisms. Over to Gopal Krishna. Further, any questions? I'm ready to face.
Thank you very much, sir. Such a wonderful practical session. Requesting participants to raise their hands from chat box to ask questions to Dr. Ganpatraj Garu. Karuna madam, Dr. Karuna.
Hello, sir.
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Can you switch on your video?
Karuna madam.
No, sir. Hello, sir.
Please, madam. Please.
sklearn.ensemble used, sir, in your code at the ending.
Yes.
Feature selection.
There are n number of methods, madam. Yes.
Is there any ensemble method you also used in your code?
Yes, and you can use k-means, you can use random forest, you can use bagging, boosting, any algorithm you can use.
That's what, bagging, like
yes,
we can use. Here, what kind of ensemble method you use?
You can use bagging, boosting, whatever it may be, madam. Here I used one algorithm. You can use, instead of ensemble method, you can use KNN also. There are 10 to 12 classifiers are there. You can use any classifier for feature selection mechanism.
Okay.
Dr. Ramesh, any doubts?
Thank you, madam. Participants are requested to raise their hands to ask questions to the speaker. Anybody else? Sir, since there is no questions, with your permission, I would like to proceed to a poll question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You can proceed, sir. Please.
Requesting participants to answer this poll question, please. Hope the poll question is visible on your screens. Requesting all participants to take part in the poll question. Fill the poll question. 10 more people need to attempt the poll question. Last 30 seconds to attempt the poll question, please. Participants can see the result of the poll. 96% said yes. AI and ML is like a biggest innovation since the microchip. Thank you very much for your participation in the poll question. I am now pasting the link for giving feedback for day 3 session. Please make a copy of it. I have pasted the link for feedback for today's session, that is day 3, the last day. We will share the PPTs from the speakers, and I will send an email to you all. Ganapati sir?
Yes, sir, please. I would like to thank our IT department, entire IT department, Prasanna Lakshmi Madam, Gopal Krishna, our principal, director, EO KSN Garu, and the Chief Administrative Management for giving the opportunity to take the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Requesting participants to take a copy of the feedback link from the chat box. I have shared once again. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for such an insightful session. Over to Prasanna Madam, Head of the Department Information Technology at GRIT. Madam? Hello?
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
Sir, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate every participant who has enhanced their skills in this domain using practical examples. I would like to thank even the speakers, Mr. Mohan Garu, Dr. Ganapati Raj Garu, Mr. Maheshwar Reddy Garu, for sharing their wisdom with the audience of FDP, sir. I would like to extend my thanks to our beloved Director Garu, Dr. Janjala N. Murthy, sir, Principal, sir, Dr. Praveen Garu, and management for encouraging us to conduct this FDP. A heartfelt thanks and congrats to Gopala Krishna Garu, Ganapati Raju, and Pavitra for organizing this FDP on a short note. Sir, with this workshop, my gut feeling that data analytics really powers everything that we do is strengthened. And I hope the same happens with every participant who is part of this workshop from 3 days. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thanks to all the participants for active participation in this FDP on data analytics for modern research from past 3 days. With all the support from the participants, we have completed this FDP. Please fill the feedback. The certificates will be emailed to you. The certificate will be delivered to your inbox directly. Thank you very much. Hope we had a happy learning from past 3 days. Thank you, one and all.
అంతే అడగమన్నా నాకు బస్ ఛార్జ్ కట్ అవుతుంది 1000 ఎవరు ఏంది తిన్నామా సరే